Chest. The pain of her death still ached in my chest. She'd been so young. I saw her lifeless, cold body crumpled on the floor when I closed my eyes. The skin, it was like... She wasn't the first I'd killed. They all twisted inside me, dancing past my sight. Their stories, their strands, woven together in a rope tied around my neck and heart. Andrew, the gas station, the tourist trap. There's something hiding. Are there more of them that you're not letting me remember? They strengthened me, physically, even as they broke me mentally. That much I could feel. I refused to acknowledge it, even sitting there on the hospital floor, but I knew I was getting stronger each time I killed. They were getting stronger. Through their deaths, the power of the words grew. Every story linked together to satiate them. The words are me, and I'm them. There's no separation anymore. Every day that passes, every corpse I consume, it becomes more a reality. But how long until the words surpass me? Take control. The blackness, the goo, it's their story, their essence, and I drink it up. Do I want to? I can't tell anymore. But I still cry. That's a good sign. I didn't want to admit any of this. Not even to you. It was easier not to know. Not to have a reason for why the power inside me was killing. Why I was killing. I can't let them take control. I need to... Quiet! Let me focus. I can't stay here. It's just so hard to think. Just this stupid hotel.
Hey, I've been talking to her. It felt so real. I couldn't even tell. Why is this you? Or
what? We haven't talked to Ariadne. She's still resting.
No. That's not right. We were just talking to her, rooting through. Wait. What's happening? Where are we?
We just got to the hotel. Right? I've been resting. I needed to remember...
No, that's not... That already happened.
What? No, this is...
Where are we right now? Where am I?
I'm in my hotel room.
Are we?
Yeah?
When?
After the hospital.
No. Yes, but no.
No, we were talking to Ariadne.
And?
We rooted through her mind. How are we talking to each other? It's you...
What's happening?
Welcome to the Beating Heartland, created by Denver Baughman.
Episode 32, The Doctor, Part 2. I tried to push it down as the shapeshifter held me. Tried to focus on the false face of Ariadne, use it for comfort. She didn't have the same influence as Ariadne, the power to focus or recall. She was missing the spark of life in her eyes, but at least it was her face. I'd missed it, and that was comforting enough. Even looking into those eyes, she was different. Something was missing deep inside. Their eyes, the family's eyes, they're dead. Absent of something important. An extra step. But Ariadne's different. There's life. Purpose. The false Ariadne smiled and lightly wiped a tear from my eye. An innocuous gesture that was still too warm, too caring, normal. She wasn't a perfect match, no matter how hard she tried. "You came," she said. Her voice was tinged with a bit too much emotion. "Of course," I said. She smiled and helped me to my feet. I teetered, and she held me. Where have you been?" she asked. The family didn't know. Not really, which was good. Maybe that would keep me alive. I knew I looked awful. It had been so long since she, the real her, had seen me. Too much had happened. I was different. Barely even me. We'd both changed. Knew more than we should. But at least she knows how she fits into this puzzle. I don't really know why I'm here. I stole the word's power. I made myself a reason. Why did I matter before?
How could they help him? I need to help.
Stop.
How do I
can't.
Why was this
Focus.
happening? What did he do? What did he see? We're both so... Does he...
Ariadne, quiet. Too many voices. I figured the imposter was able to tap into memories somehow. There were quirks and movements that only someone who could access another person's brain would be able to replicate. It wasn't perfect, not always, but it was too specific. A cracked mirror. They were linked, and I could use that, but I needed time with them. Time to exploit the link. My body still trembled, and I could feel the power of the words working inside of me, growing from the recent kill. One of the tendrils drew towards Ariadne, but I willed it back. Not yet. We needed time. Ariadne cocked her head. "Denver, are you okay?" Crap, I've been staring at her for way too long. That also changed without me realizing it. The conversation doesn't feel the same anymore. It's grating, inconvenient. It's easier to peer inside, see the strands of the story and the words. It's easier to talk to you, too. I just shrugged. I'm fine, she scoffed. I said, "I'll explain it later. I'm just glad you're safe. It's nice to see you. But we need to get out of here." I didn't sound convincing, but the fake Ariadne chose to accept it. Maintain normalcy. She grabbed me by the hand. The words inside me jumped, startled and eager. "Agreed. I know a way. Follow me." Niceties aside, enough for her to feel confident I wasn't suspicious, she tugged me by the hand towards the far hallway. She realized this was far too forceful for Ariadne and changed tactics, letting go and motioning for me to follow, which I did. She didn't talk, just guided me farther into the hospital. I knew she was leading me to whatever the doctor had planned, but that's exactly where I wanted to be. Their plan seemed odd. They had so many puppets, and I wasn't strong enough to hold all of them back. Why have her walk me to them? They're afraid. Did they know? Regardless, I needed to stay by her side, seek the strand that would lead to the real Ariadne, and I didn't have much time left. I needed it to happen before we got to the doctor. After that, after finding her, then I could kill him. Memories of killing the werewolf surfaced. I still didn't know exactly how I killed him. Normally, a family member would regenerate into a new body. The werewolf's death had been different. Final. Did they know a sibling had been killed? How connected are they? The power is still too foreign to me, but I feel it all the time now, always calling to me. But now it just sounds like me. I had been staring at Ariadne too long again. I looked away, down the hallway, trying to play it off as looking for danger. A moment passed, and Ariadne said, I missed you too. It was awkward, halting. too much like the real her. Something stirred inside me. Not the words, a longing. I needed to find the real her. There was an unsurprising lack of puppets in the hallway as Ariadne continued to guide me. The whole hospital was holding its breath. They didn't want to set off the time bomb inside of me. The shapeshifter was probably pleased. From her perspective, this had been child's play to get me to follow. But, of course, who would ever think that someone was a perfect imposter? How much did the family know of me? The werewolf hadn't seemed to know much. Just that I'd been with the words and that I was trouble, getting too close to something. It wasn't until he was near me that he felt them. Do they feel it now? We didn't turn a single time. The maze had opened, guiding us straight towards the center, the heart. Ariadne was worried. She wanted to get this over with. Her connection was looser than usual, harder to maintain. I shouldn't know that. I could feel it, see it as I latched on with the words. The link was strengthening. I could almost see them drifting off of her thoughts, her intentions. And faintly there were other words, calling out to me from somewhere deep and contained. The real her. I pulled on that strand, and the fake Ariadne shivered and stopped walking. She spun around and stared at me with wild eyes. Then she stumbled. Something shook under the ground beneath her. I caught and steadied her. But as I touched her, we connected. She stared up at me with different eyes. The spark was there.
And then I don't know how it happened.
I had been pushing, straining at the walls, trying to escape from the cell. I could always see through her eyes if I wanted to, but I had to focus on it, will it to the forefront. The room wasn't tangible. It existed somewhere in the hospital, but you couldn't reach it through physical means. She created it, the shapeshifter, a place to keep me, to feed on my essence. I could sense echoes, people the shifter had previously become, still floating at the edges of the room where reality broke. She crafted this room. She made it somewhere on the edges of consciousness, a linking of her brain and some physical space. I used my power, my instinct, whatever I should call it, on her. It wasn't difficult with her. I was practically inside her brain already. She showed me everything. There was no need to pry. I felt a kindred mind, a family. She was like me, fractured. Too many people and identities flowing around, nothing that felt concrete or real. She was lost in the charade of personality, acceptance, and truth. She loved it, reveled in not knowing who she truly was. In the fear, the uncertainty, the horror that rang through her mind whenever someone discovered they had been replaced. It was disgusting, violating, and she loved it. But then there was Denver. I looked up, and we were staring at one another. His hands were holding my arms, helping me to my feet. And then we were alone, in a different room. I don't know how I escaped the shifter's room, but as Denver and I linked, it disappeared, replaced by this space, this reality. Denver stared at me, unblinking, unmoving, and I felt him. Felt his presence and mind for the first time in what felt like years. It had only been a few weeks. He wasn't the same. He had always been different, haunted, hunted. But now, he was fractured. A power shifted inside him, and it felt like me. We were one, the same. And then we woke up.
We were both tied to operating tables. They were tilted so that we stared at each other. A strap cut into my forehead, and both arms and legs were tied tight to the joint just before cutting off circulation. Ariadne was still out of it, her eyes half-lidded and her breathing slow and ragged. Her mind was still back in that place, trying to walk back into reality. 2 bright lights shone down on us. Past the ring of light was obscured in shadow. I heard muttering, and with some struggle, looked to my left to see a table littered with tools. A shadowy form walked around the table, and after a few moments, I realized it was the doctor. His lithe arms picked at different tools with long, disproportionate fingers. Behind him, the shadowy wall seemed to shift and move as if it were alive. I told you it wouldn't work. The doctor chuckled and turned to look at something in the corner. I pried my head to see and noticed someone standing, hunched and shivering. Their body kept shifting, bubbling and stretching like putty being constantly played with. They grimaced and whimpered each time the body shifted into something new, only to change again a moment later. They didn't seem to be controlling it. They needed a host. I knew your body wouldn't be able to hold one of us. The doctor smiled and waved a dismissive hand toward the shapeshifter. The shifter glowered and retorted with a voice that couldn't decide what pitch or cadence to use. She's different. I thought I could. Our physiology and mental status are too distinct, too foreign. I knew you would only hurt yourself. It was him. He ruined it. Yes. The doctor thought for a moment and turned my direction. He noticed I was awake and grinned. I hate to admit it, but Summers was right. Dear old brother is back. He walked up to me, holding a long, thin blade. How'd you do it? How'd you two combine? He pressed the blade against my stomach, near the mostly healed scar the werewolf had sliced. What makes you so special? Out of all of them, you've been the most nuisance. Why can't we just kill you? There's plenty of spares. Surely Father would be fine if one of the crop went to waste, as to not soil the whole bundle. The blade pressed a little more against my skin. Just kill me then, I said. The doctor leered. Don't worry, I will. But not before I siphon him out of you. He stabbed the blade into my stomach and twisted. I only felt the first stab of pain. At the same moment, the doctor unlatched the strap holding my head, causing me to stare down limply. I saw my intestines winding out of a large gash in my stomach. I almost fainted, but then there was a strong smell that jolted me back to consciousness. The doctor pulled away a small vial he had positioned under my nose and placed it in his pocket. No, don't want you to miss any of this. You want to know everything, right? Well, then you get to see it all. He snickered and walked back towards the table, looking for a new tool. My intestines twisted out of my stomach, and the blood mixed with the inky black of the words as it also poured out of me. I tried to imagine it was someone else's, something I was watching on TV to make it easier. But then after the initial shock, I just felt numb. My veins were now black, and I felt the words pressing on my mind, making everything feel like a dream. Not real. Haze. The doctor scowled. Pity. You're not as scared as you should be. I was hoping for more of a show. Why? Why is fear so important? Father likes it. And you're all bred for it so well. Don't talk. Not worth it. It will take some time for all of him to drain out. I was seeing spots now. The blood loss was starting to become too much. I was sinking. He walked up to Ariadne and placed the smelling salts under her nose. Her eyes snapped open and she gasped. What is... She saw me. And then my stomach. Her eyes went wide. Denver! Shh. We were right. Well, Summers was right. You led him straight to us. Good work reaching out to him. We're so proud of you. He patted her cheek and then plunged the knife into her gut. No! I screamed. The doctor chuckled and sliced the knife through her side. Blood splattered. There's no time for dilly-dally. You're farther along than even Summers thought. I leaped towards him and pinned him to the ground. When he had sliced Ariadne, the inky blackness had quickly run up my table towards the bonds and burned away at them like acid. It was like a survival instinct, an animal or a plant sending out a defense in a bid for survival. This had happened before, a few times, actually. I remember being in my boss's house, the taxidermized heads, the bonds loosening. Even before merging with the words, the little bit inside me from the books was aiding me, keeping me alive, grooming me for the work that needed to be done. I grabbed the doctor by the throat. My bloody guts were still hanging out, piled on the floor, and now the doctor's lab coat was also drenched in my blood and viscera. He laughed. Arms grabbed me, pulled me off the doctor, and threw me across the room. What I had thought was the wall shifting and undulating had instead been hundreds of people, flesh puppets, piled and squished against each other to fill the space. They had been standing, naked, unblinking, unbreathing, swaying back and forth, waiting for command from their master. Now they piled onto me, reaching, grabbing any exposed part they could. I saw Felix. He stood, back against the wall, eyes blank. He hadn't joined the other puppets. His eyes twitched toward the doctor, and there was anger. My vision became obscured, and all I could see now was a mass of naked skin fusing and melting together in a grotesque dance. I felt hands reach into my now exposed stomach, scraping, grabbing. Oddly, I still didn't feel any pain. The doctor still laughed. I couldn't see him, but I could hear it. Joyous, crazed. The plan was working. Once he killed me, it would all be over. The puppets ripped at my skin. I was being torn to shreds. The doctor's laughing stopped. The puppets slowed, and several of the eyes, swirling in the mass of flesh, looked where their master had been. And then the eyes went slack and lifeless. Their drive was replaced with patient stupor, and everything went still. Without hesitation, I clawed my way out of the flesh, now covered in my own blood, and gasped. I looked down at my stomach, and the black goo was already desperately trying to knit everything back together. The guts sliding back into place, the skin that had been ripped being patched together. I quickly looked away. Felix was kneeling next to the doctor, eyes wide, breathing deep and ragged. The doctor was on the ground, motionless and bloody beside Felix. A large scalpel was lodged deep into his eye socket, directed toward the brain. Felix looked up at me as I stood and limped toward them. He didn't say anything. The life that was in his eyes faded. He collapsed to the ground, unconscious. The other puppets stood, freeing themselves from the flesh of others, reforming, and watched with unblinking eyes. The doctor's body was riddled with stab wounds. Felix had descended on him with a fury pent up by the horrors the doctor had done. I sank to my knees into the doctor's blood. The pain was just now beginning. The doctor gasped, coughed blood out of his mouth. His still good eye opened and looked at me. His breathing was short, but like me, he was slowly mending. "You didn't expect a puppet to be your undoing. You let your guard down," I said. The doctor grimaced and coughed. "How?" I looked at Felix, who was slowly breathing. Not quite a puppet. Not quite human. He never finished him. He's still in there, somewhere. The doctor laughed, which was distorted by the blood in his throat. "That's impossible. What did you do to him?" "I don't know." "You'll die with us." Yeah. This isn't about me living. I placed my hand on his chest. This is extermination. The words, mixed with something else, seeped into the doctor's flesh through the many stab wounds. You'll never be perfect. And he died. The black goo slinked back into me. I looked up at Ariadne, and as further confirmation of her status in the family, I saw her own wounds slowly knitting themselves back together. The shapeshifter was gone. They must have run when Felix pounced on the doctor. It didn't matter. They would be dealt with soon enough. As for the puppets, their skin bubbled and melted. Without their master's power keeping them together, the flesh, bone, and muscle unknit and puddled on the ground. I didn't want to think about the puppets who weren't here, dormant, living a life of repetition, possibly with other people watching, terrified, as their loved ones melted into nothing. Felix did not dissolve like the others. Whatever the doctor had done to him, it hadn't been enough to break him. There was enough life left, but he didn't wake up. I don't think he'll wake up for a while. Using my last remnants of strength, I crawled to Ariadne, who had passed out. I undid her bonds and laid her on the ground. I whispered in her ear something. What was it? I told her to take us, Felix, all of us, somewhere when she woke. It was this hotel. How do I don't know this hotel. Wait. Where am I? This isn't my... What the... Where am I? Wait. I wasn't in my hotel room. Time had passed since I'd run away from Ariadne. Time that I didn't remember. I was in the dining room, and I wasn't alone. 8 people sat in chairs around the long table. Rotten platters of food placed in front of all of them. Swarms of flies feasted on the old meat and vegetables. All 8 people were dead.
Shut up. Why can't I hear you? How are they hearing this? No. When did this... Crap, why did... I did this.
Their skin was pale and sunken. And as I stood there, black goo was escaping from their mouths and eyes and slinking on the table towards me. I had killed them.
I didn't mean to. I didn't... I don't even remember. Why did I do this?
Memories were starting to surface, but I was too distracted by the sight to focus on them. And then I heard a noise behind me.
Who's there?
I spun. The man who stood behind was tall and lanky. His arms a little too long for his body. He wore an expertly tailored suit that fit his strange proportions. His smile was wide, and his face was oddly round, contrasting with his body.
Who are you? Why am I here?
With a smooth, pleased tone, the man replied, I'm so glad you could make it. It's been so long since you've been here. I've done as you asked and prepared you a feast. You'll be back to full strength before you know it.
The Beating Heartland was written by Denver Baughman. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on whatever streaming platform you are using. Follow us online at The Beating Heartland. Thank you for listening.